What's up guys, it's Eric from Rare Candy and welcome back to another entry into our Rogue Rumble series where we take a look at some overlooked or underutilized cards and we try to make some rogue deck ideas out of them. So for today we are taking a look at Toxapex GX all the way back from Guardians Rising. Definitely a card that has not been very good historically and even still today I don't think is that great. But you know what, I love Toxapex. I think it's one of the cooler Pokemon that came out of the Sun and Moon generation of games, and I've been waiting for this card to be like kind of decent, and now that we have Malamar in the mix and Mysterious Treasure, seemed like now is a good of time as any to actually try to make a deck out of this thing. So let's take a look at it. Toxapex GX is a Stage 1 GX, like I said, all the way back from Guardians Rising, 210 hit points, Psychic type, which is nice because we can search it out with Mysterious Treasure, and it has a couple of interesting attacks, the first of which, Spike Cannon for just a single Psychic energy, flip 4 coins, 30 for each heads, so on average we're going to be hitting for around 60 damage. Not that great, but I think its other attacks are a little bit spicier. So we have super intense poison, 3 psychic energy, your opponent's active is now poisoned, but they take 10 damage counters in between turns instead of 1, which is nuts. So unfortunately, on average, we're only going to be doing 100 because our opponent is probably going to retreat. But you know, every now and again we get a little bit lucky and our opponent can't retreat, and so they are going to effectively take 200 damage by the time it gets back to our turn, which is pretty cool. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, it's super rewarding. And even if our opponent does retreat, sometimes it just forces them to retreat even though they might not want to, and make kind of awkward plays to deal with this poison. So kind of a neat attack there. And also Total Shelter GX is pretty cool as well for 3 psychic energy, 150, and then prevent all effects of attacks including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So if we throw down a choice band on this guy, we can actually hit for 180, which is a great number since we can knock out things like Tapu Lele's, Tapu Bulu's, basically any 180 hit point basic EX or GX, which is pretty nice to be able to do. So that's the whole reason we are running this guy. To be completely honest, this deck is kind of just like a worse version of existing Malamar decks, but like I said, I think Toxapex is a cool Pokemon, so we're going to see what we can make happen with this thing here. And even though Toxapex is our main attacker, we do have a 3-3 Malamar line, like I already pointed out. Our attackers don't really discard energy, so we don't really need a thicker line like you would normally see in maybe some of the other Malamar decks that are running around. And we have some other attackers here as well. First of which, Dunaway's Necrozma, kind of a nice Pokemon. If we get a Float Stone down on it with its Invasion ability, gives our board a little bit more mobility, and it also has some pretty decent attacks of its own to be able to use if we need to pivot to this guy instead, especially if our opponent does have like some sort of Psychic attacker to hit us with. If we want to avoid getting hit for weakness, we can always use Dunaway's Necrozma. And speaking of Psychic attackers, we are running one copy of the Promo Mewtwo, and this is actually going to be our kind of our counter to the Evolutions Mewtwo, as weird as that seems to tech against. But yeah, I think the Mewtwo from Evolutions is a somewhat common Psychic tech that we see. It can actually knock out our Toxapex GXs just for a single DCE, so it's actually nice to have another one prize Pokemon to be able to counter that with to take that thing out. So we do of course already have Dunaway's Necrozma, which can do the job, but like I said, I wanted a one prize attacker in this deck to be able to fill that role. So we're going to play this Mewtwo here, and honestly after getting I think some more games in with this deck, I think the Latios from Shining Legends might be a little bit better, but we're going to stick with the Mewtwo here for the duration of this video at least. So Super Psybolt for 3 Psychic, can do 100, which knocks out of course that promo, or not that promo, but that Mewtwo from Evolutions. Also knocks out things like Buzzwole GX in one hit, the Baby Buzzwole of course as well, Necrozma GX. So this is a nice little one prize attacker, and also like I said, I was kind of specifically running it to deal with those one prize Pokemon that can easily knock out our Toxapex GXs. And then the last attacker we have is going to be one copy of Mimikyu, and this is going to be our tech against some of the Pokemon in format that can take one-hit knockouts. So think of Ultra Necrozma just as an example, or Tapu Bulu just as an example. They can easily take one-hit knockouts on our Pokemon, so we don't really have an option of doing that, so Mimikyu is a nice Pokemon to kind of even the prize trade out a little bit with Copycat. So if your opponent's Pokemon used an attack that isn't a GX attack during their last turn, use it as this attack. So if we do get knocked out in one hit, this guy can copy our opponent's attacks to do the same thing to them, while in the process only giving up one prize, which is pretty nice. And then, of course, 2 copies of Tapu Lele just to round out the Pokemon line. And like I already mentioned, guys, the rest of the list kind of just looks like your normal Malamar deck, which is fine by me. I think the Malamar deck has enough good things going on with it for its engine. So we have, of course, 4 Mysterious Treasure, 3 Ultra Ball, great engine to get set up. We have 1 Bridget, 2 Parallel City, which is kind of an annoyance. We are already kind of annoying our opponent with Toxapex, so being able to limit their bench size with the blue side of this card kind of goes along with the same theme here. And it's just a good card against a number of different decks already in the current format. 2 Field Blower to discard tools, 1 Stretcher. Let's see, we have 3 Floatstone, of course, for free retreat, 3 Choice Band, which is pretty relevant to, of course, do more damage. We always want to be able to have ways to increase our damage output to GXs and EXs, but especially in the case of Toxapex, being able to use Total Shelter GX to take knockouts is really nice, and we need Choice Band to be able to do that. And then, of course, just 11 Psychic Energy to round out the list here to power up all of our attackers. So yeah, guys, that is going to be the list we are going to try out. And like I've mentioned already, I don't think this deck is that great, but nevertheless, we're going to try to have some fun and see what we can make happen with Toxapex. So let's head over to the battle portion of the video, and we'll show you how this thing looks in action. Alright guys, going to load up a game here, and we do win the coin flip, which is definitely nice. That way we can hopefully start to get set up before our opponent can. And this hand is actually pretty solid. We have an Inkay ready to go. We have Mysterious Treasure, so we can guarantee that first turn Bridget if we need to. And we even have a support for the next turn, so we're going to shape. And actually we top deck Lele, which is even better. We don't even have to burn the Mysterious Treasure on the Lele. So here, okay, cool. Bridget is not priced. That means we can go ahead and start getting set up. So just a matter of what do we get here. So of course we probably want to get another Inkay. It seems like a good idea. We have Toxapex in hand, so we may as well grab Mariani. And think we could get Mewtwo. Or actually, you know what, we could, since we are playing against Buzzwole, maybe we should actually go ahead and grab Dawnwings Necrozma instead, just because this Inkay is actually kind of in danger of being knocked out. If our opponent just has like strong energy Diancie Prism Star, then our poor little Inkay just gets blown to pieces. So I think I might like this instead. So let's just take a peek through the deck as well. Doesn't look like anything too crazy is prized, which is good. So we can get down a Floatstone here. And I think I actually might go ahead and play the treasure this turn. So normally I would want to hang on to this for next turn to grab a Pokemon we need then, but I kind of want to just go ahead and ensure we get the energy in the discard pile. So we can go ahead and grab Malamar for next turn, kind of forcing our opponent to have an N if they do want to get that out of our hand. So here we'll just use Invasion, bring up this Dawnwings Necrozma to hopefully tank a hit and not have something get knocked out ideally. So your opponent is going to get down Brookwood Hill. So let's see what they are going to opt to get with that. So that Stadium lets them get a basic water or fighting Pokemon on their bench. So going ahead, setting up a Rockruff. So here, actually really glad I did grab the Dawnwings Necrozma, because had our opponent just gone for Diancie Prism Star, that strong energy plus the Diancie could have knocked out our Inkay. So definitely happy with the decision that we made here. And here we are going to see a Jet Punch though. And even though we are resistant to Buzzwole, they're still swinging for 80 damage, which is kind of annoying. But here we'll go ahead and evolve into that Malamar. That way our poor little Inkay doesn't get knocked out. And we'll just Sycamore away this hand after we get out our Toxapex as well. Okay, so we actually have a really, really good hand. This is like kind of like obnoxiously good. So we can definitely go ahead and grab our second Malamar, definitely good. And what we can do here is we can actually go ahead and grab the promo Mewtwo. I think that's going to be the play here, because we could attack with this Dawnwings Necrozma, but like then our opponent just needs an energy for their baby Buzzwole on the bench to knock us out. So what we can do here is we can play this Mysterious Treasure, dumping another Psychic Energy and grabbing that Mewtwo. So now, even though this Mewtwo probably will get knocked out by this baby Buzzwole on the bench next turn, I'm kind of okay with that just because we're going to be trading 2 prizes for 1. So we're going to be on the good end of the prize exchange here. So we're going to start powering up that Mewtwo with Psychic Recharge. Let's get down that second energy, and then we have the third one in hand as well. We do have a Choice Band, but not really any reason to put it down since we're already taking the knockout here. Kind of want to save that maybe for our Toxapex to maybe take like a final knockout on a Lele or something like that. So here we'll go ahead and get our 2 prizes, get a Psychic Energy and a Cynthia. Okay, so good thing we got the Cynthia just in case we get hit with an N or something like that. We'll have more outs to an actual supporter in our deck for next turn. Your opponent's promoting Rockruff. Not sure if I like that. So since they have the choice band on the Rockruff, tells me they probably have Guzma since they didn't promote something else that could attack. And if that's the case, that is actually pretty annoying. And here they do have the Guzma, so they are going to be able to take out this Dawnwings Necrozma that we have. So tying up the game here, a little bit unfortunate, but you know what? We have this Mewtwo ready to go. We can actually just knock out this Buzzwole, and that's kind of going to force our opponent into finding their B-Strings, because their next turn is going to be their very last turn where they have access to B-String. So what do we do here? We have Ultra Ball. We can go ahead and dump, I guess, the Psychic Energy, and probably Cynthia is fine, since we probably just prefer to play Sycamore here. And just trying to think, do we actually grab anything? That's really the question here. So we could actually potentially go for a Lele and Guzma something, but I mean, honestly, I really don't even know what I would want to Guzma. I think this Buzzwole here is kind of the primary threat right now. I kind of just want to dig a little bit deeper and just try to get some more cards. So we could even go for Mimikyu as well. I think that's a decent alternate attacker, but here we're not going to get anything. I kind of just want to keep the bench spot open in case we want to play a Lele at a later point in the game. And okay, we actually have a pretty decent hand. We got Parallel City, which is great to get down. Right now, I don't even think our opponent has an ideal Pokemon they can toss away. They don't have like a Lele or something kind of just sitting on the bench taking up space. So any Pokemon our opponent discards is going to be a good target here. So we'll have to see what they're going to opt to get rid of here. I think they probably get rid of the baby Buzzwole, and even if that's the case, I'm happy with that because they're not going to have an attacker ready to go after we knock out this active here. And here we can get down a Psychic Energy on this Toxapex GX, so that guy is going to be all ready to be powered up after this Mewtwo goes down at least. So here we're going to take a knockout on this Buzzwole. Let's see, we get an Ultra Ball. Not the greatest card off the prizes, but hey, that's okay with me. Here they are going to promote this Remoraid, and they have the Float Stone, okay? And they have the Brookwood Hill, which is kind of annoying, so they are going to be able to search out another attacker here. And they really need B-String. That's going to be the big thing they're going to be looking for this turn, but they have Sycamore, so I would imagine they'll probably have one. Here, another Max Elixir. Okay, thank God the Max Elixir failed. That would actually be pretty bad if they hit it. If they could attack with Lycanroc at some point, that would actually be pretty bad for us, so... Here we are going to see an Ultra Ball. I'd imagine probably seeing another attacker, or maybe even Octillery. Okay, Octillery definitely seems like a good choice from our opponent, kind of making sure that they're going to be in-proof in the late game here. And so right now, our opponent is still in kind of a weird spot because this Buzzwole right now is hitting for 100 with the Diancie Prism Star. And that means they're going to have to flip 2 heads on this attack because of this ability that's on Mewtwo. So, honestly, I kind of like the situation we're going to be in. If our opponent cannot knock out this Mewtwo, we are going to be in just such an incredible position after taking the knockout here. So, it really just comes down to how lucky they actually are here. They need both heads or a strong energy, but I think they already attached the basic fighting, so we should be good. It's one, and they do hit both heads. So, okay, that is slightly annoying. What do we do? What do we do? I guess we can pretty safely promote Malamar. I think that's fine. We have Floatstone in hand. Okay. So what do we do? I'm just trying to think what is going to be the best play here. We have Guzma, and actually I kind of like the idea of going for a Guzma here. I don't really want to waste Total Shelter GX on this Buzzwole. So here we can Ultra Ball. We get rid of, I guess, Toxapex and N. I think those are probably the best targets to get rid of here. But I guess we can dump Cynthia. I guess it's like okay, just in case. You know, we have a Sycamore ready to go for next turn, so I think it's probably fine. So just in case our opponent does get like a crazy knockout next turn and goes down to 1 prize, we will have a way to maybe deal with that. But here, what we can do is, I think we bring up either Rockruff or Octillery. I think Octillery is pretty good here. Especially if our opponent is able to get a knockout next turn and will allow us to punish them without being able to, you know, refill their hand size. So if we're not going to discard the N, I think Octillery is the best Pokemon we take out here. So what all do we do? We can Psychic Recharge again, getting some more energy on this Tapu Lele, that's fine. Just in case somehow this Toxapex does go down. It could happen. It's a little bit unlikely. Our opponent would need like a strong energy and a max elixir, so it could happen. But I think we're safe just using super intense poison. I really don't want to burn our GX attack on one of these non-GX Pokemon, so I think we can just do super intense poison, taking the knockout on Octillery. I think that's fine here. And then this Buzzwole is probably only going to be able to hit us for what, like 130-ish damage approximately. And we get an NK off the prizes. Not too relevant at this point. I think both of our Malamars are pretty safe. So let's see, they are going to get down Regirock EX. That's actually pretty risky on their part because of Total Shelter GX, and our opponent saw us Ultra Ball for this Lele. So maybe they have an N. I think that is something it could go for. Oh, here they have Lycanroc. I'm actually perfectly okay with this because that basically ensures that we aren't going to be knocked out with Dangerous Rogue, which is kind of what I was most afraid of here. And they're going for Cynthia, so we should just be able to win this game now. Like, yeah, they can knock out this Malamar, but we have Lele for Guzma, so I think we just win here. And I'm pretty sure we have both of the other Guzmas left in deck as well. So here, let's go for the Lele. Yes, so we do have two Guzmas in the deck, so that means we can win by bringing up this Regirock EX. With that choice band that's on our Toxapex GX, we will be able to do 180, which is just enough to take the knockout here and take a game against Buzzwole Lycanroc. So that definitely feels good to beat one of the best decks in format with kind of a meme deck. So even though Mewtwo kind of was like the star of the show early on, Toxapex still came in at the end and closed out the game for us, which is awesome. But here, let's try out another game and see what we can make happen. And we will go first in this game. Definitely going to be good. Okay, so we have a Mariani to start with. We have Dawnwing's Necrozma. And we have Mysterious Treasure. Unfortunately, no energy to throw away, which is a little bit unfortunate here. Okay, and our opponent is going to open with an Eevee. So just trying to think, what is this? Is this going to be Espeon? Is it going to be Sylveon? It could even be Glaceon. So we'll have to see here. So here, I think I just go for the Tapu Lele GX. I think that's fine. I guess, or if we want to get an energy down, we could even play the end still. But here, I think it's fine if we just go for the Lele for Bridget. I think it's completely okay. Just get our board set up. We definitely need some Inkays in play as soon as possible. Alright, so we'll go for Bridget. And what's going to be the third Pokemon? That's the only thing I'm wondering about. We already have a Marini, so we could go for Mimikyu. I really don't know what we're actually playing against, and that's why I'm really not sure what to actually grab here. So I guess we'll just do the Mimikyu. Can't be that bad. Hey, worst case scenario, something will get knocked out and we can fill that bench space with something else more useful later. But here we will just use Invasion, bring this Dawnwing's Necrozma into the active spot, and we can just end our turn. Just curious what we're going against here. Okay, and we see our water energy, so this must be a Glaceon GX deck. And not sure how I feel about that. We won't be able to make good use of Invasion. But honestly, I think our deck is still in a good spot to beat Glaceon because Total Shelter GX, or not Total Shelter, but Super Intense Poison is a great attack against Glaceon. Basically, if they don't retreat, they are going to be knocked out. And a lot of times, they don't have multiple attackers powered up with a ton of energy. So I think Toxapex can actually just kind of go the distance in this matchup. And of course, Tapu Lele, always a pretty decent attacker against Glaceon as well. So I'll have to see what all our opponent is playing with Glaceon. That's the next question. I would imagine probably just Zoroark. That's usually the most common thing we typically see with the deck. Maybe Lapras, could be even Garbodor. So here, let's take a look. Maybe they're going to go for a Bridget. Oh, a Pikachu. Okay, so I'd imagine this is going to be paired with the Raichu from Burning Shadows, the Evo Shock one, I think it's called. The one that creates paralysis whenever you evolve into it. And okay, I actually really like this hand they end us into. So what we can do here is we can get down a Malamar, Toxapex GX, and we really need to hit... I think we already have one energy in discard, so here we attach this Toxapex. And we just Sycamore. All we need is a Malamar, and we can do Super Intense Poison, and we're going to be in a pretty great spot. Oh geez, but we whiff it, so that's that actually does kind of cause some problems for us. So what do we do? That's the question. We definitely Psychic Recharge. I guess we just attack with this Toxapex. Here we'll Parallel City our opponent. And I guess we're just going to have to use our first attack here. Definitely not ideal. Really wanted to do the Super Intense Poison. That would have been such a huge attack for us. Hey, we still hit 3 heads though, so we are going to be safely two-shotting this Glaceon, but nevertheless, can't help but feel like that that was a big missed opportunity that we had this turn. And here our opponent has the Raichu as well, so our Toxapex is going to be stuck in the active spot. So maybe in hindsight I shouldn't have attached the energy to Toxapex, but and they hit the double colorless energy as well, so definitely a pretty good turn from our opponent. Definitely punishing my deck for whiffing that extra Malamar there. And I can't believe it. Next card was Malamar. Okay, so what do we do? We can't use our ability, so we can't use Invasion. So really we just have to think, what attacker do we want to power up for next turn? So I guess we get down an energy on Dawnwing's Necrozma. I think that's kind of a safe attacker. And we just go for the Cynthia. We could have put the Floatstone down on something, but really no need to at this point. So we'll do Psychic Recharge and start powering up this Dawnwing's Necrozma. For once this Toxapex goes down, I would imagine it probably will get knocked out next turn if I just had to guess. And here, let's see, we're just going to pass it back over to our opponent. Going to get down another energy on this bench DB, so starting to set up their next Glaceon, definitely going to be good. So here, what are we going to see? We could see, was it another Frostbolt? I believe it's the name of the attack, or Frost Spear, something like that, I forget. But the one that does 90 and 30, the same one they did last turn. We could see that, or we could even see the GX move as well to just take a knockout right away on this Toxapex GX. But let's see what our opponent has this turn. If they have Raichu, that would actually be super annoying again, just because they could actually... Yep, and so they are going to paralyze us, and even though they're not taking a knockout, they're kind of stranding us in the active spot here while softening up a bunch of things on the bench and setting up multiple knockouts. Okay, so yet again, I just feel really bad about whiffing that attack on the previous turn with Toxapex. That was such a missed opportunity, because our opponent wouldn't be able to do all these shenanigans right now had we actually got the knockout. But, so what do we do here? We can... I guess we can Mysterious Treasure. Doesn't really hurt to. I think we need to play an end this turn though and try to hit... I really want to keep... Well, just trying to think, what do we do? I mean, there's really nothing in particular we want to search out. I may as well just throw some energy in the discard pile. And so next turn... We could maybe even hang on to this hand, but you know what? I think I just want to refresh this hand. And we actually hit Parallel City, which is pretty nice to be able to get here. And we have Guzma ready to go for next turn as well. So I actually like this hand that we're sitting on here. The only thing I was thinking earlier, I was like, if we could save our hand and just... Our opponent's going to take a knockout next turn. It's pretty much guaranteed, so we could end them afterwards. But here, I like the idea of being able to keep a Guzma in hand for whenever we need it against these Raichus. And here we're going to parallel our opponent here, just taking their options away from them just a little bit. And I guess we just pass. So let's see what our opponent is going to do to respond this turn. So we're going to get down a Choice Band on that bench Glaceon. And they have Field Blower, also kind of annoying. They've had Field Blower every time we've played Parallel so far. So definitely our opponent's drawing pretty well here, it looks like. Can they attack with this bench Glaceon? I would imagine they are going to want to retreat this active one. So let's see, they haven't played a supporter yet, so they could... So maybe they're just thinking about what support they want to play. Not sure what they might have in hand. Okay, so they are going to go for a Leo, so probably just deciding what they want to go for here. They have 3 cards in hand, so we could see a Cynthia, or we actually could even see a Guzma. Okay, so we are going to see a Guzma, which is super annoying. Do they have Floatstone? That's going to be my next question, because if not, they are going to have to burn some energy to actually make this happen. And next question is, who are they actually going to Guzma up? That is the next question. I would imagine probably even... we could see... okay, they're going to bring up this Malamar with damage. I don't really like that, to be honest. I think that's kind of a misplay. I think they definitely should have brought up maybe the other Malamar. That way they could have left this damage on this Malamar in play to potentially set up a knockout with later. So I definitely think that was a bit of a slight misplay from our opponent. So here they're going to use Frost Bullet and taking 3 prizes, which is definitely annoying for us. So what do we do here? I think we just promote the Dawn Wings. I think that's completely fine. And let's see. Oh, we actually top deck N, which is great here. So here we also have Ultra Ball. So what do we get? That's the next thing I'm kind of wondering about. Could try to get another Inkay into play, or even could get a Mariani. I think that could be good at some point as well. So yeah, let's do that. We already have the one Malamar in play. That should be enough to keep us going for a few turns. And here we'll go for the N. So putting our opponent at only a 3-card hand. So taking away that Raichu that they had there. And so here we're going to get down a Psychic Energy, going to start powering up that Mariani. And going to get down this Inkay as well, maybe start setting up another Malamar. And we can use Moon's Eclipse GX, but honestly I think Dark Flash is fine. We're really not in any danger of being knocked out or even attacked next turn. I think it's going to take our opponent probably 2 turns to attack us, unless they get an energy down on Tapu Lele, but then they aren't locking our abilities, which they probably want to do. I don't know. It is a Glaceon deck after all. That would seem good. But yeah, I think we're going to be in a good spot here. Unfortunately, we don't have Guzma. We haven't played a single one yet, and we don't have one in hand. So that is something we are going to have to be pretty careful about. So opponent is going to get down a Water Energy. Ooh, an Espeon EX. That actually maybe could be relevant at some point here, because our Toxapex GX's, basic form only has 60 HP. Same thing for Inkay. So Espeon actually could be a little bit of a pain for us at some point. So let's see what our opponent did get off the Sycamore. Kind of unfortunate, they got another Draw Supporter off that end of 3. But you know what? Hopefully our opponent can whiff the Raichu. That would actually be a really great. And here they're actually going to promote a Rangaroo. Okay, so that's actually kind of what I like to see here. So even if they do somehow get Raichu, well, and they don't, I was going to say we still aren't going to be attacked. So I like the spot that we're in here. Let's see, we have only 1 energy in discard. Yes, so we can definitely dump an energy with that Mysterious Treasure, grab another Malamar, and get out that Toxapex. Let's see, we have 2 energy in discard. Yeah, I think we can probably safely get rid of this other energy. I think that's probably fine here. And we can just fail the search. Okay, so do we get down any tools before we play the Cynthia? That's the question. Do we want to attack with this Dawn Wings? And like, I feel like we still take a prize here. Like, even though we are going to get attacked, I feel like we still probably do that. So just trying to think. We could even go for a Moon's Eclipse GX. That actually is an option here. But you know, I think that's a little risky, but I think we'll probably be okay. And we hit Field Blower, so I was kind of hoping we would get that, because now we can get rid of that Choice Band, which would allow them to knock out our Dawn Wing. So actually no, I think because the attack is 50 times on Glaceon, so actually they can knock us out with the GX move either way. So here we're just going to Psychic Recharge, start powering up this Toxapex. Definitely going to be a good attacker against Tapu Lele. Or not Tapu Lele, Glaceon GX. What am I saying, guys? But actually we have Guzma, so we could potentially knock out that Espeon on the next turn as well. So we definitely have some options here. So we can just go for... I guess we just go for Dark Flash and take a prize. Like, I don't like the fact that we'll be on an even amount of prizes, but I think we have to. Otherwise our opponent can just get down on a Floatstone and retreat. And at least this way it will allow us to just pick off like a bench Pikachu or Raichu at some point to close out the game. So opponent is going to get down an energy and a Vulpix on the bench. Interesting. Okay, so maybe they're playing that for the GX, like a Alolan Ninetales GX, just as like another alternate attacker maybe, since they do play Aqua Patch and things like that in this list. So we'll have to see. Do they have Raichu? That's going to be the big thing they're probably looking for here. Either way, we have this. We have a Guzma ready to go. Okay, but our opponent is going to go for a Raichu. So they are going to paralyze this Dominic Necrozma. And the thing is, I think they can actually just take a knockout with the GX tax. I'm pretty sure it's 50 for every damage counter already on this Domwings, but I guess they're going for the more annoying route, I guess you could say. But here, what we can do is we can go for this Espeon, promote this Toxapex GX, and we can actually I think we actually go for the total shelter here. I mean, even though it's like definitely like gross overkill on this Espeon, since we're hitting for weakness, I think this is probably okay. So now we're going to be immune from this Glaceon on the next turn, and they actually can't paralyze us either, so I think we're okay with this hand that we have. And now all we have to do is take out one more Pokemon, we actually just win. So I think we're in a good spot to close out this game here. So opponent is going to get that Raichu back in hand, okay. So let's see what else they are going to do beyond that, though. Gonna get down a DC on that Alolan Vulpix. Okay, I'm kind of okay with that as well. Not really too worried about that. So all we need, like I said, is a Guzman. We should be fine to just win. Okay, so they are gonna get 30 on that Dominic Necrozma, which is actually a little bit scary. Huh. Okay, so actually our opponent is in a position where they could potentially bring this game back. And I think we just have to start powering up Lele. Because I don't think we can afford to attack with Mimikyu at this point, just because that will enable our opponent to get those 3 prizes that they need to win the game. And here we're just going to go for an... Oh wait, no, we should have just gone for Cynthia, because we had so few cards left in deck, a Guzma just wins. And our opponent had 3 cards in hand anyway, so definitely missed opportunity there, but you know what, I think it's still kind of okay. It puts that Raichu back in their deck, and we can just use super intense poison, and our opponent doesn't have a way to actually respond right now, so they can retreat into this Vulpix, but beyond that they don't really have too much to work with. That's great. So let's see what they are going to get here. They have to retreat, they just have to. So they're going to get down. Oh, they have the baby Alolan Ninetales. Okay, yeah, that's definitely super annoying. And they are going to retreat. The only good thing about this, it means our Dominic Necrozma is actually safe this turn, and our opponent won't be able to get any prizes. So here we're just going to see 80 damage, and now I'm super regretting playing this in instead of that Cynthia. I was thinking, you know what, it'll work out, but I forgot our opponent plays some sort of Ninetales. So what do we do? Man, like I want to attack with Mimikyu, but at the same time, that just doesn't. It's just too risky, I think, attacking with the Mimikyu. So we'll use Invasion, I guess, and we'll retreat. What do we? I guess we just promote Lele, as sad as that is. But here we'll get this energy, start powering up Malamar, just in case we do have to attack with something. So right now we're giving ourselves the option of attacking with this Malamar or the Mimikyu. We don't need, ideally we don't want to attack with either of them. But man, this is kind of a rough spot. Luckily we only have 9 cards left in deck. We've only played 1 Guzma, so we could actually just top deck Guzma and be fine. So here we're going to see an Aurora Beam come down. And okay, we hit Sycamore. So next turn, if our opponent hasn't won, then we just win with Guzma. So we should be good here. We can even play down our hand in case of an N or something like that as well if we really want to. So what all do we do here? I think we retreat because, well, yeah, if we just promote this Dawnwings Necrozma, I think that's fine actually. And we probably play Ultra Ball. We get rid of Toxapex and Cynthia. And okay, we just have a Sycamore left in deck. So even if we get hit with an M, we have pretty decent odds of hitting what we need. So here we can use Psychic Recharge and just get another energy down. I don't think it really matters too much at this point. We can put it on Lele or the Mimikyu. Either one is completely fine, I think. And we can maybe even hang onto the Choice Band. Or we could put it on Mimikyu as well, or Lele. I think either one is fine. It doesn't really matter at this point. So, okay. So we're just going to pass. If our opponent has Guzma, they win. If not, we win. Big moment of truth here. What do they have? Okay, so we're going to see an energy come down on this Eevee. That's not a Guzma, so that's definitely good to see. We have a Choice Band. And what is the final card in hand? I would imagine if they had the Guzma, they would just play it. But here we're just going to see an Aurora Beam, which means we have game in hand. So what we can do is we can just promote. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter too much. We can promote this Lele, that's fine. And then we can Guzma up this Glaceon. And we will use Super Intense Poison. Pretty fitting. We'll use Toxapex to take this last game here against this Glaceon Raichu deck. So yeah, somehow we managed to win that one, even after kind of that misplay playing the N instead of the Cynthia there. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this look at Toxapex GX. Like I mentioned a couple times already, deck is definitely not very competitive, but definitely fun to bust out and catch your opponent off guard with a Super Intense Poison or a Total Shelter GX once in a while. But as usual, guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you can support this channel by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg or by picking up something from our online store at rarecandytcg.com, it'd mean a lot. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.